First time was my senior year in high school, so probably about 3 or 4 years ago. We were just talking about it as friends do, just talking about it, saying we should try it or whatever, hyping it up basically. At first I didn't really see nothing, but then I started like tripping out, I guess. We drove past a baseball field again, and it looked like the road was actually transparent. And I'm in the front seat right now, and I'm just tripping out laughing because it's the road. It looks like we're gonna like drive through the road itself, and I see everyone on the baseball field picking out names. Oh, this is this, this is this. And I'm just sitting there laughing.
I read up on it, watched a few videos, but nothing that I could have read or watched would have ever prepared me for what was about to happen. Before I could even exhale, it hit me. The whole room just got big and white, and it just got huge. Like I literally watched the entire room expand around me. And from the corner of the bathroom, the whole room just started unwinding. Almost like bubble tape. If you remember the gum bubble tape, it just started unwinding and just coming toward me. All my senses that tell me that this is reality right now was telling me that this was real.
The first time I smoked salvia was like, I would say end of sophomore year, like 2011. We went to a smoke shop, bought stronger salvia, went back, and one of my homies smoked it and just started laughing and rolling around on the bed. So I grabbed the pipe and smoked, you know what I mean, ripped it. And at first nothing happened, and I blew it out. And after I blew it out, like the side of the bed started fluttering like crazy. I mean, like fluttering, like a butterfly flutters its wings. And after that, I stood up, and I felt like a face was just coming out of the bed, just toward me. And I felt like I was just stuck. And I felt like a weird burning sensation in my chest. This happened for like 3-4 minutes, and I was just stuck in just like this same thing over everywhere. If I looked at the corner, it would just be fluttering. If I looked at the bed, it would just be a face popping out. And out of nowhere, I just snapped out of it.
Salvia Divinorum is a psychoactive drug that originated in Mexico. Its name is derived from the Latin word salvare, meaning to heal or to save. Salvia is one of the most powerful hallucinogens known to man, both naturally and man-made. It has historically been used as a sacred medicine by the indigenous shamanic healers living in the mountainous Sierra Madre Oriental in the northeast corner of the Mexican state of Oaxaca. The first recorded mention of salvia was made in 1938 by John B. Johnson, who heard of the Mazatecs making a tea from the leaves which induced visions in its users. It was not until August 2002 that researchers discovered that Salvia Divinorum acts at the kappa opiate receptor site, where much of the human perception is regulated. This puts Salvia Divinorum in a class of drugs known as KOR agonists, which are thought to play psychotherapeutic roles in perception-altering diseases such as schizophrenia and Alzheimer's disease. The plant salvia can be both ingested and smoked, and when done correctly causes hallucinations and loss of motor control. Salvia has since been outlawed in many states across the country, but is legal in states such as California and Arizona. Time and time again, the drug salvia has resurfaced and sparked trends amongst teens and young adults, and for some, it has had tragic results.
brain is the place where we perceive and react to stimuli. And drugs that affect the brain will often affect our behavior. And in fact, that's why people take drugs. If drugs didn't affect our behavior, people probably wouldn't want to take them. So some drugs will excite people's behavior, and other drugs will diminish people's behavior. For instance, caffeine works by turning off cells that normally calm the body, and so caffeine wakes you up. And alcohol works by turning off cells that normally excite the body. So after you drink a glass of wine, people tend to become much more calm. And so these are the effects that people like, because drugs can affect the brain. Drugs give us the kind of behavioral change that we like to have or that we're looking for. The main effects of salvia are hallucinations and lack of motor control. So basically, like caffeine or like alcohol, salvia affects our perceptions of reality. And although people experience hallucinations with salvia, it doesn't really affect the same cells that LSD does or mescaline does, for instance. Instead, what salvia does is it binds to cells that opium binds to. And opium products are things like morphine and heroin. And because of that, similar to morphine and heroin, salvia can dull consciousness. So you sort of have a loss of consciousness, or you dissociate yourself from what's going on around you, which of course is very useful for pain medication, because when you're in pain, you don't want to be feeling pain. Salvia binds to the same kind of receptors that opium does. But there are major differences between the effects of opium and salvia. And this is because there are basically three types of opium receptors. The two I'm going to talk about are the mu receptors, Mu, and the kappa receptors, Kappa. Opium binds to the mu receptors. And in doing so, not only does opium relieve pain, but it also gives the user a lot of pleasure. So people that take heroin and take opium and take morphine, not only are they diminishing their pain, which is good for clinical usage, but it also makes them feel really good. And because of this, drugs like heroin are extremely addictive, because the person wants to experience that good feeling over and over again. On the other hand, salvia binds to a different receptor called the kappa receptor. There is a diminishing of pain. There's also a diminishing of consciousness, like you'd get if you were trying to diminish pain in a patient. But salvia does not make you feel good. Instead, you basically experience hallucinations and loss of motor control without any of the good feeling that you'd get from heroin or opium. And that's probably the reason that people take salvia once to experience it, but they tend never to take it again, because it's usually not a very pleasant experience.
What's this deal about?
What's what?
What's this about?
What's what about?
All this weird stuff.
What do you mean, weird stuff? Corbin, get the dogs up there now! What the fuck? Dave! Giovanni, go upstairs!
Good boy.
That's fucked up. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, Phil. Are you alright, Phil? Doing it, dude.
It's different for everybody.
It's Phil. Turn the music down. Turn the music down.
dance to the music player?
You two people from Kerrville.
Yeah.
Kerr. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?
We're here in the same place in the car.
Tell me where you are.
Got your hand
Where?
on my arm. You're right here.
Who?
David.
Who? Who? Can I get up?
Yeah, go for it. Alright. Do whatever you want.
Why'd you start opening the fucking front? That fucks. Fuck. Am I about to get tucked out?
Just sit down, dude. It's alright.
It's natural. It grows on Earth. Everything here could be classed as natural. And I honestly have no detailed knowledge about the specific chemicals in this particular plant, but I do know that in general, plants, because they can't run away, because they're stuck to the ground, they have roots, they have to protect themselves in place. And so what plants do to do that is they create tons of chemicals in their leaves and stems and fruits to stop attack by insects. They're constantly being munched on by insects and bugs and rabbits and who knows what else. And so they will make these chemicals in their leaves and fruits and structures to protect themselves. And these chemicals are for this protection reason, so they're usually taste nasty or they're poisonous to bugs. Now what has happened along the way is that the plants are making these amazing chemicals that humans have figured out by eating kind of have effects on our nervous system. So there's multiple different chemicals plants can make. They're actually amazing chemical engineers, plants are. They make these molecules that we don't know how to make in a factory. We can't make this stuff synthetically, but plants know how to make it inside their cells. And so humans have figured out that some plants make certain chemicals that we can't make industrially, and if you ingest these chemicals, they have an effect on our cells. And this runs the gamut from like tobacco plants make nicotine, and people know the effects of that. That's a legal drug, not very healthy, but legal. And then there are marijuana, heroin, cocaine, all these drugs are natural. They're all from plants originally. And the same goes with salvia. It's another plant. It, I think, grows in Central and South America. And it makes this chemical, and it makes it for its own reason to protect itself from getting chewed on by insects, probably.
So smoking a drug gives a very instantaneous or close to instantaneous effect. If you were to eat salvia, and you certainly can eat it, it will have an effect if eaten, but imagine the same way as food, it has to go into your digestive tract, and then it has to go into your stomach and get broken down, then it has to go into your intestines and get absorbed, and then it gets into your bloodstream, but not all of it gets absorbed at once. So usually the onset of the effect of something, a drug that is eaten, is much slower.
It pretty much takes you into a whole another dimension, and then it's like you pretty much don't know where you are, depending on the person. And I heard one of the main reasons why I've never done it is because I think it was my cousin that told me one of his buddies, he basically stayed on the high and he's like not normal no more. That's pretty much the main thing that scared me. I just didn't want to do it after that.
But more recently, there's been a lot of interest in salvia for two different reasons. The first, interestingly, is that salvia seems to have a beneficial effect for GI tract problems like diarrhea or muscle spasms in the intestine. And so there's a fairly rigorous interest in looking at drugs like salvia or developing drugs like salvia that could be used for GI tract problems. Similarly, of course, there's a lot of problems with addiction to pain medications. So when people are suffering severe pain and there's a necessity to take drugs like morphine, of course, one of the problems is that you run the risk of becoming addicted to it. On the other hand, as we talked about, salvia does have some pain diminution effects, like it can reduce pain and reduce consciousness, which might be good for patients that are in pain. But unlike morphine, it doesn't seem to be addictive. On the other hand, you wouldn't want your patient to have really severe hallucinations that could frighten them.
Do your research on it before you actually do it, and listen to what people have to say about it, such as like having a spotter, like how you mentioned in that video where the guy fell out the window. They both decided to take it, and they didn't have nobody watching them. Things get dumb. They start doing dumb things. That's when the bad starts going on.
But the actual experience was way different than anything. Like, all my research couldn't prepare me for that experience.
I mean, it wasn't a great experience, but I mean, at the same time, it wasn't bad because I didn't really have one of those trips where someone like gets really scared. But I wouldn't do it again.
It's not a drug to be played with. It's not a recreational drug. And I think if there is anybody that's thinking about using it or that would use it, that just really do your research, and that I can honestly tell you, I can sit here and talk for 10 minutes about why you shouldn't or how crazy my trip was or how I never could have expected it, but there's nothing I can say to prepare you for what you'll experience. Like, everything you've ever known is going to be ripped from you within seconds, and how you handle that is going to be completely different, and you can never predict that. So it's definitely not anything to be played with.